Just like that, we are back with Desi's That Live, Shreya and MK, and we are giving you another round of Red, White, and Brown here on Radio Zindagi 1550 AM.
आप सुन रहे हैं रेडियो जिंदगी 1550 AM पे रेड ब्राउन ब्राउन को देसी शो लैप शो पे.
And we are bringing you this time something from our wonderful Tamil genre. We watched Dulquer Salmaan, Aditi Rao Hydari, and Kajal Agrawal's new movie, Hey Sinamika. And let me just tell you, if you guys are not already following us on Twitter, that is at Desi's Live. And if you are not following us on Instagram, that is at Desi's Live Gram. But every single time we post about our wonderful DQ, Dulquer Salmaan. Is that right? Is that how you say it?
That's right, Dulquer Salmaan. Oh my God, we get bowled over by his fans and his fan clubs. Oh my God.
We're just like bulldozed. Like our entire Twitter is just overtaken by these fan clubs. And honestly, we're very happy to have you. We are happy to have you. Don't forget to leave your thoughts on any tweets that we post, and we will try our best to respond to as many as we can.
Absolutely. So, hey, Sinamika. Okay, so first things first, loved it. 148 minutes of laughing our guts off. Literally. What do you think?
It was so cute. I absolutely loved it. How about I give a treetop and you tell me what you think?
Go for it.
Amazing. So we see DQ in the opening scene. He's sitting at this little cafe and he sees Aditi Rao Hydari for the first time. So the story follows them falling in love. And then after they've fallen in love, they've gotten married, whirlwind, it happens in like about a year or 2 years.
2 years ago, 2 years after that, that's when, the thing starts.
That's where everything starts going south. Our wonderful ARH is now starting to see these flaws in DQ because she's like, he talks a lot, he's constantly cooking and he constantly feeds me things. And you're like, wow, that sounds great. Like I would love a house husband who does those things, but everything in moderation, right, guys? Because he like shows up in the shower and he's shoving cake in her mouth, or before she even brushes her teeth, he's giving her coffee. He doesn't really give her the space to make a lot of these. Yeah, the space to make some of these decisions because he knows her so well that he's like, this is what she's going to do next. So he's constantly like on top of it, almost momish. And she eventually convinces her boss into giving her a project that pushes her to Pondicherry, thinking that he won't follow her and for a year she'll have space working on this project. But then, surprise, surprise, her husband shows up and he's like, I don't want you to have to live without me. So here I am. I'm going to spend this time with you, this year with you. And she's like, oh man, oh no. So she comes in contact with this, I want to say like psychiatrist living next door, which is Kajal Agrawal, Dr. Malaviri. And she just constantly sees people or couples coming out of the doctor's office who just keep splitting up. And she's like, you know what? This is what I need. I need somebody to help me split up with this man without hurting him. So she goes to the doctor. She blackmails the doctor into helping her. And the crazy part of the story is something happens in between where people who shouldn't be falling in love start falling in love, and people who are out of love start falling back in love, and people who are in love start falling out of love. And now we've got this three-way mess of a triangle. It's not even a love triangle anymore. Like at points, there are different arrows just shooting anywhere. Like at any point in time, we don't know who's in love with who. And it's the cutest, funniest story from start to finish. It's so adorable. What do you think, Em?
I thought the movie was I loved the story. It was firstly very different. He's this guy who's overtly affectionate. He's so talkative. He just doesn't give her breathing space. And if you or I were in that relationship, we would be troubled as well. Anybody would be troubled. But instead of going to a third party for help, we would definitely sit the person down and talk to them, which she doesn't do. Instead, she goes to a psychiatrist and she instead of getting real help from a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a relationship counselor, taking him with her, she schemes around it.
She does.
And that, when he comes to know, devastates him. Totally devastated. It is like a betrayal for him because he genuinely loves her. He does. And by then she realizes too how much she loves him because she sees that the doctor has fallen for him as well, because the fact that he starts his own life and he starts building his own career. He gets to do his own thing. He has less time for her, gives her the space. But then he starts building his own life in a way that gives her the time to rethink their relationship too. So it is just such a beautifully told story of relationships, right?
It
That
is.
um, she just between the three of them, they hurt each other a lot in the end.
I was
And
thinking about it quite a bit. And throughout the story, I was thinking that I was like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But at the end of the day, I realized I was like, this isn't a story to encapsulate like all possible perfect relationships. It's just a story of one really messy relationship. And like, as you're following it, you start to realize that like every party ends up having some kinds of issues. But you know what? I will say I was not 100% happy with the choice he made at the end, Em. I think that with the hurt that she has given him, even if he loves her, I don't think she deserved him. I won't say who the she is because I want you guys to watch the movie for sure. But I don't agree with the she that he ended up with. I don't think she deserved a second chance from him. What do you think?
I think she was immature, but very immature in her relationship with
Yeah.
him, extremely. But so was he. I mean, the way he completely stops thinking of her as another person, for her to react the way she does, it's anybody would have. I mean, even her colleagues
Mhm.
in her office feel that way.
Yeah,
literally,
exactly.
literally, he kills them with his nonstop chatter. He literally, they give it up for her. Like she
Yeah, yeah.
suffers. It is. And if you've been in relationships where your other significant other does not give you space, you would know how much it
Smothers you.
hurts. And not only
Mhm.
bothers you, but it also takes away your mental peace. It is very excruciating. It is very traumatic not to be your own person. And that's what the
Mhm.
person does to her. Right.
Right.
But the moment he starts getting his own stuff to do, he becomes his own person and leaves her alone. And he does get at some point in time that she wants to be left alone, but she could have
Yeah.
actually been mature about it and just told him, right?
Yeah.
But
I
that's
think that would have saved a
relationships.
lot of
Relationships
issues.
are,
Yeah.
and they complicate it all by the doctor falling in love in between, and but finally, the spoiler, blah 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 blah. We're not telling you what the spoiler is here, guys, but it's actually a very well told story of how
It is.
complicated simple things can become if people don't communicate.
Oh, for sure. And I think I was saying like rather than bother saying smothers her because or smothers, excuse me, that's the right way to say it. There was this part, right, where in the beginning where I was like, he's totally in the wrong. I understand he's totally in the wrong. You have to give a person space. But then I started to realize that throughout the story, she says, so Aditi Rao's character actually says, she's like, oh, you've changed. And he goes, I haven't changed. Or at least the doctor says, he hasn't changed. You've changed. And I was like, that's not necessarily true. I didn't agree with that statement because I thought there was a point where when he started to, do his own job, do his own work, he was giving her a healthy amount of
Please.
space. Like he was giving her a healthy amount of conversation, which I was like, is a change. I was like, maybe it wasn't an intentional change on his part because he's just so busy. He doesn't have time to have as many conversations with her. But that's a shift in the dynamic and the relationship goes both ways, right? If one person starts giving less, then the other person also feels them giving less. And in this case, she wanted less. So I was like, you both changed for the better. So I think they should have acknowledged that rather than being like, he did not change. He's
Yeah, but
always been
but as
perfect.
a psychologist, she was biased from the word go.
She
She liked
was.
him, so she brought so much bias to the table that she wasn't really helping them. She was helping herself,
She was.
right?
And I
So
have
that
a
complicated it more.
That really did. I have one incredibly commendable thing to say about this movie. There's this really funny bit where when he moves to Pondicherry for the first time, his moving truck gets held up with his clothes. So he puts on this like
Her
anarkali that
dress.
is Yeah, that is his wife's. And he shows up to his wife's boss's daughter's wedding in an anarchly, and he starts a fight with the catering people. And no matter how many people keep taking jabs at him, being like, "Oh, are you two wives? Like, are you sure you're really a man?" He never dismisses the fact that he's less of a man because he's wearing a dress. And I was like,
I
highly
loved
commendable.
that.
I love that scene.
Love that
Loved
part. And also the way he carries it, I loved it. Clothes don't
Love
matter.
it.
Clothes don't
It's
matter.
yeah,
Clothes don't define who you are. Your propensity doesn't define who you are. Be who you are.
exactly.
Just
He's
don't
like
let
flailing around in a
let
dress.
anybody else tell you who you are. And the way he
Exactly.
swings around in that anarchy.
And she's like, "What are you wearing?" And he's like, "Don't you love it?" I was like, this is so adorable. Like, yes.
And
It
he's
doesn't make
DQ,
any
for
difference.
God's sake. He looks godly.
We are huge DQ fans. So overall, out of 10, what do you think, Em?
I think an 8 for sure.
Agree. I agree.
Complete bingeable, watchable. It is a laughter riot, especially the scenes where he smothers the hell out of her. Oh my God. Oh, she cannot breathe. He is all over her. He will not let her. He will even massage her feet as she goes to sleep. Keep her, for sure. Only if he will let her breathe.
For sure. It was adorable. It was like there was some great foreshadowing, with hair and metaphorism. I thought that was like the little tiny things. The details were paid attention to really well. I did get a little bored in the beginning because there was just too much staring between each other. There was just too much staring.
And
I was like, that's okay.
It's a little too filmy in the start, with the storm and the song and they get married. You know what I mean? It's a little,
just give it 10
okay.
minutes. Just give it 10 minutes and you'll be okay. It's a great movie.
We forgive you because it's DQ. All right.
All right. And just because you love that and we love you, we want to remind you one more time that this is Daisies.live with Shreya and Em, and you're watching Red, White, and Brown on Radio Zindagi 1550 AM.
आप सुन रहे हैं Red, White, and Brown Daisies.live की तरफ से Radio Zindagi 1550 AM पर.
And you are listening to a song. What are we listening to on our way out, Em?
We are going to listen to Raid Zarasi from the motion picture At the Rangi Ray. And we're starting it in right now.